So how does a long-haired heavy metal musician get to be one of the top creatives in his field? And how is life in advertising as we rock and roll into 2019? Hi, this is Bruce Abbott. Here at Radio Lounge, Ray Schillens and I feel the ad love with Jeffry Jones, creative director of Freed Advertising. From Rotel to Chef Boyardee, the Texas Lottery to Mercedes-Benz, Jeff is a great example of what makes our industry fun. He also answers the question of how an advertiser can better use an agency to benefit their brand. Our conversation with Jeff starts right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vinnie Velveeta is in the building. Well, he's actually not in the building. He's on the phone.
Speaking of smelly cheese.
Vinnie Velveeta.
You know, that's a great idea. Vinnie Velveeta. It's the smelly Velveeta. I like that. If for those of you who are just not happy with the regular Velveeta, it's Vinnie Velveeta.
Where did you get Vinnie Velveeta?
All that means is that I'm shelf-stable and I'm easily meltable.
Okay, well,
and
that's
filled with chemicals?
That's an accurate description of Jeff Jones, who is creative director at Freed Advertising here in Houston. We have a chance to work with Jeff a lot on a lot of different projects over many, many years. And always what we do is we end up having a whole bunch of fun and occasionally get some work done beyond that. But so here's Jeff Jones, Houston born and raised. Is that correct, Mr. Jones?
That is correct, yes.
Okay,
I
good.
couldn't get more Houston than if I tried.
And
really.
the only person that I know who also knows somebody in Gloversville, New York.
That's right.
I mean, what are the odds?
That's right.
I think it's
I've
pretty
been
cool.
there. My wife's Nonita, God rest her soul, a wonderful spitfire of a lady, little 4-foot nothing Sicilian woman. Who,
wielding a rolling pin, right?
Yes, wielding a rolling pin. And when she first met me, I had long rocker hair, as you did in those days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was dating my to-be wife, and she looked at me and she said, she goes, "I know you look like a girl, but you are a good boy."
Oh.
So that endeared us to each other
You were
quite
in
nicely.
at that point.
I was in at that point.
Hey, man, are you ever
And
going to grow your hair
the best
back,
thing
Jeff?
is-
You ever going to grow your hair back, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I could
and
just
without
see-
a doubt.
Okay,
I'm starting right now. Although
Okay, good.
I'm freshly shorn from yesterday.
No shaving?
I will live vicariously through you.
Yes.
You're going
But
to have to.
Speaking of, you asked about Vinnie Velveeta earlier, which is a silly moniker that was foisted upon me, as was Sheffer, which is the nickname that I have kind of earned over the years, and that originally came from Nonita because she could not remember my name.
Well, it seems like a tough name to remember.
So,
4
right.
letters.
She was trying to impart some wisdom on me across the room and couldn't remember who this doofus was who was dating her granddaughter. So Sheffer, Sheffer, Scheffer. And then Vinnie Velveeta, to answer the question from 5 minutes ago, was, that is my stage name because, as you know, I am part of the world-famous, fabulous schlock and roll band, The Unmentionables.
Yes. A very good Elvis band and a whole bunch of other genres as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. We do a whole Elvis set, kind of in the middle, and then most of it is just everything that we grew up with on the radio, or that we thought at the time of its inception, boy, wouldn't it be funny if a band played this song, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's not as unique as I guess we thought it was, or whatever. But nonetheless, a lot of fun. It's myself, my brother Darren, and then a very good friend of mine that I met in this silly industry, Alan Babb.
Yes.
Who is creative chief poobah at the Lee Group, and then his 2 brothers, Mark and Paul, and then our friend Richard Albin, who, a.k.a. the King. So anyway,
so this incestual
really nice.
relationship continues here into your adulthood. Is that what you're saying?
It does, yes. And it kind of, for a while there, was a quasi sort of ad agency band. It spilled out from, kind of getting into history now, I kind of came up through FKM, or Fogarty Klein Monroe, or Fogarty Klein and Partners, or Fogarty Klein, or one of its many names. But
Ninth, 10th, and 11th Wonder. Yeah.
yes, all
and
of those
that
things.
company and the company of others, and
The
then
company of a whole bunch
Three's
of names.
Company, I think, also, and
Yes.
Until Jack died, then.
And what we would do, quite funnily, is have a talent show for our Christmas party. And so me and some like-minded guys that, I play guitar, well, I can, bash out a tune. We kind of threw together this little set each year as like the little agency band. And the Unmentionables' actual first iteration was at an FKM Christmas party. And there I was dubbed Vinnie Velveeta by some guys over there at Fogarty. So
Wow.
didn't give it to myself, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I am the king of cheese, as it turns out.
I can see a Texas custom license plate in your name as well. You know what I'm saying?
now,
Oh, yeah.
the funny thing is when I think of Velveeta, Rotel was actually a client you were working for, and
This is true.
And the combination of those two make the ultimate in cheap queso. So therefore,
Good queso.
you have you have earned this Vinnie Velveeta moniker.
Yeah, that was a great account to work on, and we did a lot of really cool stuff and got to do a lot of neat music. And speaking of music, and with trout fishing in America.
Can you tell the Rotel story about the jingle that you did for them?
We had somehow acquired the account, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of, I think before that, actually what started sort of the packaged goods train we rode for a while there was ranch-style beans, and then we started to accumulate a lot of other stuff based on the strength of that work, which was really nice. And this little kind of mid-size, in national terms, agency was starting to poke the big guys in the eye and steal a lot of their kind of national brand accounts. So that was a fun ride for a while there, for a few years. But so we got Rotel, and we're trying to come up with a really memorable way to. What were we doing? We were promoting a new salsa they had come up with, a pico de gallo salsa, which I don't believe it exists anymore. It was very good.
Sure.
And originally we wanted to use Copacabana, the Barry Manilow classic, and so kind of we wanted to, of course, rewrite the lyrics and kind of use that borrowed interest of a very famous song, and wrote our version of Copacabana and approached the Barry Manilow camp, and were quickly turned away when he demanded an exorbitant amount of money. Ruinously expensive this was.
Yes.
So we had to go a different direction, and one of the guys at Fogarty had mentioned this song by there's a little duo, very clever duo called Trout Fishing in America, and really cool guys, and they have a song called Pico de Gallo. I'm not exactly sure if they wrote it originally, but they recorded it and popularized it, and it was really good, and it was essentially perfect right out of the gate. So we just had to change a few things and brand it with Rotel, but it was a very nice way to pick a relatively obscure song from a smaller, hungrier musical outfit.
That means you
than-
got a good deal on it, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm getting.
Yeah.
But not demanding Barry Manilow money. Especially, wasn't he famous for being a jingle guy?
Well, he was. Yeah, he
Yeah,
wrote American
so-
Bandstand and a whole bunch of other stuff
Exactly. So he knows what kind of gravy boat jingle writing is.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of gravy, so we contacted Trout Fishing in America. They were very keen to the idea, and they said, "Okay, we'll do it. We're actually recording an album right now in Nashville, and if you would just cover our studio costs for the day, we'll do it. We'll happily do it."
Wow.
And we said, "Okay." The client said, "Okay, hooray!" So that was amazing fun. Flew out to Vegas, and met with those guys, and they happened to be recording in famous RCA Studio B, which made me super happy because I learned that's where Elvis recorded his famous Christmas album, among other famous Elvis recordings.
Wow.
So, holy moly, I'm in the room where Elvis was, and in
Yeah.
fact, this was funny, and I don't know if it's true or legend, but there's a hole in the wall in that studio where they claim Elvis got really mad one night and kicked a hole in the wall, and they decided to keep it, because Elvis
kicked the hole in the wall. Yeah.
That's right.
Wow, that's cool. And
it was a patented Elvis karate move,
Oh,
So,
yes.
Wow.
but it's really neat. They were actually giving tours of the studio while we were in there working. So there'd be this, glass window, and people would kind of wander by and look in. And
You felt like
what's
an
going
animal
on
at
in
the
there?
you felt like an animal at the zoo.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah. It's time to feed the musicians.
It was a tiny pinky toe dip into what could be perhaps perceived as what it would be like to be a big time music guy for 5 seconds. So I got a little taste of that.
I'm being a musician. Do you think that plays a role in the success in your creative endeavors? In other words, is that a benefit having that musical background, do you think?
I think it is in lots of ways, actually. Being a copywriter, and kind of when I was coming up learning to write, I realized that there's sort of a rhythm to copy. There's kind of a rhythm or a music to good copy, and especially getting it to kind of cram into the allotted time slots that we're given, whether it's a 30-second or back in the glory days, a 60-second radio. But there's kind of a rhythm and a cadence, not to say that it's like a stanza of rap lyrics, but there's just kind of a music to good copy that really sings, and I guess there's a reason why that's used as a descriptor.
So that's been a big benefit.
It's also, say again, I'm sorry.
That's been a big benefit for you then.
It has, yeah. And then, on top of that, I've got to do a lot of really cool, fun stuff musically. Just I worked on the Texas Lottery for several years, and we did a whole musical campaign for their scratch games. And when I mean musical, I mean that in the sense of like Busby Berkeley musicals, or Rodgers and Hammerstein or whatever.
Wow.
There would, like, one was set in a park fountain, and it was very kind of that. Is it Busby Berkeley? Is that the right? What was the synchronized swimming movies? Do you remember those?
I don't know the name, but I can picture them as we speak. Yeah.
Yeah, just that kind of thing. So we kind of riffed on that and played on that. So it was that sort of grandiose sort of 30s musical number, and I got to write that, and that was a lot of fun. And then one was based in a bank, so it was very Jailhouse Rock-ish, And then there was one that was set in a kind of a honky-tonk, and it was very hoedown. So it was all these animated coins that were, line dancing together. But, it was exploring cool musical genres, getting to write all the lyrics and melodies even, and then taking my, primitive warblings and, cassette tape recordings of how this kind of should go to very talented music houses and having it turned into actual real stuff. So,
wow.
That helped a lot. I did a song for Subway too. We got to work with Jared back before Jared was a bad word.
He's listening now today, by the way. Yeah.
Right.
Hi, Jared.
He
How you
writes
doing,
us
buddy?
letters from time to time.
Yeah.
He does, yeah.
Okay, no, not really.
I hope not. Correspondence, prison correspondence there,
Nope.
Bruce?
Nope, he didn't
No?
say that. Nope.
No, you didn't? Okay.
No, okay.
And
No, he writes my kids all the time.
Oh,
oh,
God.
well, that's different.
God.
That's different and more horrifying than I can imagine.
This
Should
is
I be
all
concerned?
fake.
I
This
think
is
you
all
might wanna
fake,
look into
okay? Fake news.
Do we need a disclaimer at the end of this?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
probably do, and probably a Hail Mary, too, in there as well.
But I got to write a song for that, and I kind of sat in my office with my little office guitar and bashed out a tune that turned into "Buckle Down, Skinny Up" because they were promoting a kind of a low-fat barbecue sandwich at the time.
So you bumped into Jared while he was in the commissary of the kitchen, chomping down
yeah.
on something for lunch. What was he having for lunch, Jeff? What was he having?
Yeah, it was bizarre. I mean, I kind of walked down to the kitchen there, and I turned the corner, and of all the people in the world sitting there was Jared, who was the famous Subway guy at the time, and I had no idea why he was in our offices or anything. And it's just me and him, and he's sitting there, and I catch him like mid-bite out of a Popeye's chicken leg. And I stopped frozen, and I just looked at him and I said, "You're busted." And he kind of
Boy,
just
you were
shrugged
prophetic.
yeah, and I just kind of shrugged and kept on going, and that was pretty funny. But for a while, I think we started working with regional Subway franchisees for PR purposes, and then that turned into some advertising along the way, and that's when the Buckle Down, Skinny Up thing happened.
It's funny because such great stories, such great client stories, and you have such a history here of working in advertising. And it's funny because when you talk about things like jingles, and you were joking about the 60-second radio spot that hardly ever occurs anymore. So a lot of times when people are thinking of advertising agencies and what they do, there's obviously the whole Mad Men thing. And, sometimes it's thought of as an old model, and only a small sliver of what marketing entails involves, advertising and advertising agency. But
Right.
with these clients, and especially some of these big clients and some of the stuff that you see today, what are areas that an agency is involved with that maybe people don't realize, that it's more than just radio, television, and making some jingles? What are some areas that a client who may not understand the internal workings of an agency could be surprised to know that, hey, we do this and we do this and we're involved in this?
That's a great question, because it is so much more than that stuff. It is exactly like Mad Men. I will admit that right off the bat. Everybody's got their
bottle of scotch,
and
mistress,
other things, mistress, yeah. or three, and we all drive red Jaguar convertibles. But
this is uncanny how true this is.
it is. I know. And,
No.
And no, honey, put that down. I'll get to that. Anyway, so yes, it's lots and lots of other things, and quite kind of pedestrian seeming and boring, and then and other sort of really, y'all need us to do that things as well. I mean, I've written everything from menus to canned pasta labels to something as simple as a flyer. I've done on-hold messaging.
Yeah.
The kind of, "Thank you for calling. Your call is important to us."
Which is not true. Yeah.
It's not ever true.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
No.
And so there's that kind of stuff. There's a lot of sort of advertising stuff that we also do. A lot of kind of branding before you get to the branding. I'm not explaining this well, but I guess what I mean is, like, we'll come up with a brand promise, a brand positioning, a brand's personality, will develop a brand story, which is, kind of how copy could go, sort of the vibe and tone and feel of copy, but it's not actually copy.
Sure.
There's a lot of sort of pre-thinking that girds and helps build a foundation for a brand, and brands do this. If they're rebranding, they could be established for a long time, but they kind of need to take a new direction, or from something that's starting from scratch, or something that we've had clients where they've never really thought of those things before or thought in those terms, and they could be pretty successful from the get-go on their own merits, but it's time to take that next step, sort of a thing. So we do a lot of stuff like that. There's just any and all manner of stuff. Like I think I mentioned flyers, things that you wouldn't think an agency would.
Well, and a lot of times
videos, just all kinds of
that, and that's the thing. Sometimes with this technology, social media, video usage, and at the core, everything still must represent a brand,
right?
And so, therefore, to get a message and a positioning that you want, you still interact with things like social media and technology, and it's a merging of those two.
It is indeed, and I think that's where the kind of the expertise of an agency comes in most handy, or is most vital, because like that thing I described before, like the personality, the positioning, that kind of stuff, that everything that we do then spills out of that, and it's a literal document that's created, and it's the blueprint for everything that goes forward. So whether it's a social media post, whether it's I've written email subject lines,
Sure.
It's like, I'll write a TV campaign, and then I'll write email subject lines, but everything has to be, and I guess what I mean is the agency is vital to keep the brand on brand, and to make sure that everything is cohesive, and that every touch point that the consumer has with that brand, there's consistency throughout. And a lot of times, kind of one of the things I lament most after doing this for such a long time is that over the years, agencies have been essentially relegated to just another vendor in the minds of a lot of clients.
Sure.
And because it's like, well, you'll just kind of handle that thing that I want done, and a lot of stuff is dictated. Rather, we're more and more each year we're looked at less and less as a vital partner, and an expert. That's kind of the thing that's most frustrating. It's like you hired us for a reason, yet you're dictating every single thing, and don't want to listen to our recommendations. So we end up, it's a constant battle, and sometimes you just pick those battles, and you relent, and the client's always right, just as the customer's always right, because it's their money, it's their thing ultimately, But I think it's that expertise and that experience that an agency can bring to a project or a company or a brand or a campaign that is getting overlooked more and more. And I think I wandered off into something and forgot the original question.
But you've wandered into a really no. You answered the real question, the first question, and it makes me ask a new question. You obviously really love what you do, and you meet those challenges, and you come back to work the following day, and you have more challenges, and you overcome them. So at the end of a day at work, what is the most important thing for you in your world then?
I used to always joke that I am spectacularly unqualified to do anything else, and it's true. I kind of fell into this industry, this job, and I was just glad that someone would have me. But I guess the most important thing for me at the end of the day, seriously, is, gosh, I don't know. This will sound trite and petty, but appreciation. You know, for what I can bring and what we as an agency can bring to the success of a client. And that's not to say I don't ever get that, but and it also, you know, you got to be super thick-skinned to be in this industry from the get-go. I had a creative director, a good friend of mine, once say, you know, the first thing I think of, well, not necessarily the first thing I think of, but the thing I think of, the thing I come up with, the thing I concept, and yes, we use that as a verb, the thing I create is absolutely perfect. And then I have to go show it to somebody else. And that's the moment when, well, I don't know, did you consider this or did you think of that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's true, because you have to, you know, yes, we sort of sell stuff for a living, but we even internally amongst each other have to sell each other on these ideas before it ever gets to the client. And then, you know, we have the agency consensus, and we're all in alignment with this now. Hello, client. Here is our idea. You know, because we're told no all the time, whether by peers or, you know, this is a team sport. Obviously, you know, I work with art directors and designers and other creative directors, and you know, and it takes us as a team to create what we do, but we all have to believe in it. But that just means you're going to be rejected or told no, or maybe steered in a different direction, and you got to be cool with that, or you'll never get anywhere. You can't, you know, fall in love with your baby because it's probably going to get thrown out.
Yeah.
So which kind of leads me, our big finale here, kind of the main gist of this podcast is, how can a client make the most of their relationship with an agency?
Well, I'd say just trust us. You know, just trust the agency that you believed in enough to hire, or at least talk to. You know, but you've hired us now. We are engaged to do work on your behalf. You know, it would be great to, you know, dig into our experience and let us utilize our experience and the expertise we have in whatever area it is to let your business shine. You know, we're not in your business, but we know how to tell people about your business and to get them to do things on behalf of your business. So that's what I think. I think just trust us, let us do the stuff we know how to do, so you can do the stuff you know how to do even more successfully.
Wise words from Vinnie Velveeta.
One of the things we love about your attitude, Jeff, is you've got a great, you know, obviously the skin is there, the tough skin is there, but you've got a great positive attitude about stuff. You've also got the back of a duck. That means things roll off it, which is
his wife said that.
Like, where are you going with that? You saying my ass looks big, Ray?
I hadn't noticed.
Saying I'm waddling?
Possibly so.
Have you ever thought of doing squats?
In your old age, yes, squats are good. That's for sure. That's good. Thanks for bringing some light to what you do, and I'm sure a lot of folks are going to get a lot of fun out of listening to this podcast. Jeff Jones is creative director of Freed Advertising in Houston. You were going to say something, sir.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to thank you guys. You have made, since I've met you guys, work has become less like work and a lot more fun, like you said at the beginning. Yeah. And that makes a ton of difference in how I have that backside like a duck. Just the attitude. But, you know, I look at it this way. It's advertising. It's not brain surgery. Uh-huh. It's not rocket surgery or whatever they say. Yeah. It's important because it is one of the most vital parts of this big cog of capitalism that I'm such a big fan of. But at the same time, it's just advertising. You know, we're just selling beans or whatever. Can't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
Honestly, you can't.
You're absolutely right.
Gotta have fun with it.
Jeff, you are having fun. Thanks for being part of our podcast today. And we can now officially say Vinnie Velveeta has left the building.
Thanks, guys. I'll see y'all soon, I'm sure.
Thanks, Jeff.
Feel the Ad Love is a production of Radio Lounge. Copyright 2019. Listen for more at RadioLoungeUSA.com for sound design and audio production services for broadcast, corporate, e-learning, podcasting, pretty much anything that needs sound. If you love what you hear, let's talk. Again, RadioLoungeUSA.com.
I'm going to go back to sleep now. Yeah.